So my job at the Arvada Center provides me with this really deep and rich artistic community. Not only the people who I work with every day, who are so passionate and so invested in kind of this region and infusing this region with so many different creative practices and creative experiences, but also because of all the artists that I get to work with on a daily basis in our exhibitions. And I really love that part of the job because I get to work with each of these people who are coming from widely different experiences and kind of throughout society to tell their story in the way that they do it through their visual artwork.
August of 2020 marks the 100th anniversary of the ratification of the 19th Amendment, guaranteeing and protecting women's constitutional right to vote. This historic centennial offers an opportunity to commemorate and examine a milestone of democracy, which the Arvada Center is doing through its current exhibition titled Pink Progression Collaborations. Hello, I'm Philip Sneed, President and CEO of the Arvada Center for the Arts and Humanities. This exhibition explores ideas of feminism, inclusivity, gender identity, unity, and community. I invite you to reserve your free timed entry ticket online for a safe and socially distanced experience into this multidimensional exhibition celebrating women. Over the last few months, we've been sharing stories with you about the creative Arvada Center staff. Today, you're going to meet Emily King, our gallery's exhibition manager, who's been working at the center for nearly 2 years. She started as a gallery assistant and was promoted to her current role in January. As an exhibition manager, Emily does a lot of work behind the scenes, organizing exhibitions and communicating with artists. She also works closely with our director of galleries and curator, Colin Parson, on the overall design and installation of exhibitions. Being an artist herself, Emily has an appreciation for the 10,000 square feet of gallery space we offer free to the public, featuring the work of artists from Colorado and the Western region.
I think for me, what connects me most to the artists is hearing about their work. So there's a lot of pieces that come into the Arvada Center that are beautiful and I love just for the way that they look. And then there are pieces that come in that might not connect with me right away until the artist tells me about the process or kind of what was going on with them or the intention or the message that they're trying to get across to patrons. Those kind of other stories can help people form those connections into the work that they're seeing on the walls. Hi, I'm Emily Grace King and I'm the gallery's exhibition manager at the Arvada Center. So my mom grew up in Pennsylvania. Both my parents grew up in Pennsylvania and that's where they met in college. And her mom taught her how to sew. She does a lot of quilting and sewing and kind of what I would call like domestic crafts. A lot of the things that we think about women traditionally doing that really took care of their families. As an artist, everything is really integrated into creativity. I make a lot of different stuff, and so I oftentimes weave other mediums into my work, but I was starting to look at the origin of kind of my belongings and the origin of the things that I use. And so I started to try to figure out how I could bring kind of that attention to origin into my artistic process. And I looked at the acrylic paints that I was using, and I can't make those. They are like really advanced chemical processes. So I started to kind of look at what material I could use that would last a long time, that would still kind of fit my needs as an artist. And I learned about encaustic, because it's beeswax mixed with a pigment and oftentimes mixed with a resin to kind of harden it. And so I was like, well, I could do encaustic and I could make my own if I learned to keep bees. So ever since then, I've had beehives and I harvest their wax and the honey, of course, and then render the wax down and use it to make my encaustic pieces. During college, I met my now husband, Dave, and we got married pretty much as soon as I graduated, and shortly after moved to Florida, living our lives, nothing else to do. And so we began to talk about starting a family. Having biological kids has just never really been important to me. It wasn't really important to Dave, so we started to talk about adoption. in order to adopt from foster care, you have to go through all of these different classes. And they talked about the kids who were the most in need of adoption and the least likely to find homes. And that was kids who were over the age of 10 and who were in sibling groups. So after that point, we pretty much decided, okay, we're adopting a sibling group of kids who are older than the age of 10. Despite the fact that I was in my, early to mid 20s, this seemed fine. So after we finished our classes, we found these biological sisters who were 12 and 14 at the time, and were able to adopt them through the foster care system through a really long, it's a long process of visits and meetings and kind of overall communication with foster parents and CASAs and lawyers and caseworkers and everybody involved to make sure that this is a good pairing. So we adopted our girls and have been a family ever since. And as the kids grew older and became more independent and more autonomous, I felt like I had several years of the most intensive education on the foster care system. So about 1.5 years ago, I became a CASA volunteer to work with kids who are in the foster care system now, who are working, their families are working on being reunited so that the kids can hopefully move back in with biological parents, or if that, for every reason or for any reason doesn't work out, that they can kind of move forward with a permanent home. That volunteer position was really important to my girls when they were in the foster care system, because their CASA volunteer was kind of one of the only steady adults in their life throughout multiple transitions of homes, through moving all over group homes and individual homes. And so I'm really thankful that I get to be that for other kids and use kind of that hands-on experience of parenting my girls to continue to give that back. I really see the value of each individual, right? So if I have experience and I have skills, and they're not getting used, then that doesn't feel like they're very valuable to me. But when everybody starts to share their skills and experiences, even small or even if they seem invaluable, when we all share them, then huge changes can happen to the world. I don't know that a lot of moms would think, my experience as a mom has really set me up and created something of value in me that I can give back. And I think that's a mistake. I think every experience is creating value within us that we can share to better our communities and better the people around us. I don't know that every artist is like that or every creative person is like that, but those are things that are important to me. Just like my mom had taught me sewing and her mom taught her sewing, I taught my girls kind of the basics of how to use a sewing machine and how do we piece things together. And I think that in that kind of passing down of creativity and of appreciation for art and the arts, I kind of see that on a community-wide level,
Balancing parenthood and a career is challenging in the best of circumstances. So we've worked hard to foster a family-first culture at the Arvada Center. In doing so, we've seen improvements in morale and an increase in creativity among Arvada Center employees. From our galleries to our concerts, and from our art classes to our theater productions, it's the humans of the Arvada Center who make art happen. Please, consider investing in these creatives and the future of the Arvada Center by making a gift to Reignite the Arts. Thank you for your support.